bless this church. He will bless the people in this church. But what we've got to recognize is you got to stay focused. And you got to stay focused on the right things and not the wrong things. And you've got to be willing to flee and turn your face from those things that trap you. And so there David was on the roof looking at this woman. And his fantasy led to destruction, led to a pregnancy, led to the death of a husband, a man, a life, along with other military men that died on the front that day. And it led to the death and the loss of a baby and the future that David had invested in that child. And so mismatched thinking is not helpful to the church. It is not helpful to your life. So let me give you practical, pragmatic things. Number one, if you're struggling with an addiction, the first thing to do is to try to get away from the addiction. Things that we are addicted to come with what we call triggers. And so that means that there are certain things that cause you to want that thing that you need to stay away from, called triggers. Sister Kelly, in her Minister Kelly Shaw, in the commentary read this morning that part of the problem that came about for David is that he was idle. He wasn't working and doing what he needed to be doing. You know, part of the crime that we have in our nation, especially when it comes to African Americans, is because our kids don't have anything to do. See, if all summer long you're going to let your kids rip and run through the mall and run up and down through the community and they have nothing to do, you haven't put them in a summer program, you haven't put them in a reading program, you haven't signed them up at the library in a while, if you haven't made sure that they're going to be going and staying with a grandparent or whatever is going on, if you just give the summer to them, at the end of the summer, you'll see that there's problems. If nothing else, their idle mind has gotten a little dumber, and when they get back to school, they won't realize that they need to be learning. And so just because it is a summer break does not mean that their minds need to take break. And so what happens is what we do is we get to a place where we're idle, and when you're idle, when you're not doing anything, that's when the devil is wanting you to do stuff and showing you things that you can do. So you always got to keep a job. Stay doing something. That's practical and pragmatic. Secondly, what you have to do is you have to become a writer. Meaning that you need to journal some things. You need to write down some things. You need to write. Every time you have a fall, write about the fall. I'm not saying wallow in it. You need to get up. But you need to write about the problem that you had. So if you're fighting an eating addiction, you're trying to stop eating certain things, you probably need to do a food journal. You need to write down what you're eating, because I bet you that if you write down what you're eating and the things that are happening around there, there's something that's causing you to start eating. There's a trigger. If you're smoking cigarettes, there's somebody there, something there, some stress, some strain that is causing you to do that every time you do it. So you need to start writing it down. Sometimes we need accountability partners. We need somebody that will hold us accountable, that continues to talk to us and ask us how we're doing. And oftentimes the best person to do it is somebody who's already gone through it. So if you want to stop smoking, you need to start talking to somebody who's already stopped. If you want to stop drinking, come see me. I'll tell you all about it. Help you through it. Because we can see one another. Now, I already gave you the thing with the porn. Get your porn blocker on your phone. If you think your kids are watching it on the internet, then you need to go into your router. You somewhere with your router, whether you got it from the cable company, whether you bought it from a store, somewhere with your router, there is an administrative password. An administrator and a password. You put the administrator code in there and the password, and you go in there, and under settings, it'll have security. Click on security and tell it what you want it not to do. You can simply put in the word porn, and it'll watch for that, and it'll keep those sites clean off of there. So you can do that with your router or your server. You have problems with that, call the church office. We'll help you through it. Questions? Yes.
Pastor, the woman, she did not say no to him.
He was king.
Right, and he was in a position.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens a lot of times when somebody's in a position like that and you can't say no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who's the king? So she couldn't say no.
So was she a phone?
At that time, no. At that time, no, because especially in this, we're not just talking Bible, we're also talking culture. And in that cultural paradigm, a woman was not her own, period. Point blank, period. And the king is the king.
But she still suffered from the loss of a son.
But she still suffered from the loss of the son. Yes.
And what was point number 3?
Point number 3, yeah, when you still don't show respect with disrespect. Yeah, she suffered from it, but you know what? This is not. Let me explain that part, because that some people will say, "Oh man, wow, why would God let that happen?" That's what sin does. Sin affects us all. That's why when we point the finger and say, "Well, you know, it's Deacon David Hodge, he's the sinner," you know, no, that doesn't work. If it's Deacon David Hodge and he's a sinner, so is Troy Shaw, and we're both sinners. And that's why we're in this together. We are in covenant together. We're family together, and Jesus died for all of us. Sin has that effect on human nature. Just that the human nature is a result of sin. And it's all of us. That's the reason that we're not, that is why you're not at home worshiping by yourself today. See, there's some people who believe that they can worship by themselves and that's just it. That's all they need to do. I never need a church. I don't need to worship with anybody else. That's the fallacy. That's the problem with that. Because yes, I do need to worship by myself because I am a sinner. But at the same time, we need to worship together because we are sinners. And as we get through the Leviticus course, you'll begin to see that in those 5 offerings that many of you have already read about, part of those offerings was the collective. It is an offering because all of us are affected by sin. And then there is the individual because I am affected by sin. So sin affects us all. And to believe that you can get out of it, let me just say this. And now I'm going to say something that I normally wouldn't say, but I'm going to say it. And I think that you all know that I love you all and I love everybody and all of that, but I'm going to just say it like this, and it's just the only way I know how to say it. I don't know another way to say it, otherwise I'd say it that way. See, this is the problem with white folks. Seriously. The problem with white folks is that they don't believe that they live in the same place with black people. And they think somehow or another that we can get a disease that they won't get. And so that's why now everybody's scrambling to try to figure out how to get rid of heroin abuse. Didn't nobody say nothing when we had entire houses named after our drug, crack house. Nobody said nothing. Nobody stopped Congress to do anything for us about that. Nobody said let's put millions of dollars into a program because they didn't think that it was going to affect them. That's the darkies over in the hood that got that problem. It'll never come to our community. But when drug abuse came to Worthington and Westerville and Upper Arlington, then they said, oh my God, we've got to do something. Tell the doctors to stop giving out prescriptions because it's getting them strung out. We need to outlaw it. Don't give that heroin to our kids. What about my kids? And so anytime you feel like you're separated, that's when you'll begin to find out that the chickens will come home to roost. And so for me to think that I'm just this great sanctified saint and all the rest are going to hell, that's the very moment where I better be very careful. Because we're all in this together. And you might as well just realize that you need to love me like I love you and vice versa. Because Satan don't care. He'll get us all. And so that's why it's important for us not to just be single out and, you know, I'm holy and they're not. No, we all in this together. We're all in the struggle together. And we have to pray for each other. And realize not to point fingers and say, well, you and you and you. You know, from the preacher to the door. If they get rid of the sinners in the church, we'll empty the whole place out. Won't nobody be left. Matter of fact, Brother Rob, we might well sell the place and open us a joint across the road. And drink and be merry until Jesus comes and the rest, all of us go to hell together. But I mean, we all in this together. Nobody is bigger or better. I got my struggles. Why do you think I got porn blocker on my phone? Let's be real. I mean, I got it on my phone too. My phone won't pull up nothing. Ain't no, if it's got too many X's in it, it ain't coming up on my phone. So again, we all in this together. And the struggle is real. And you have to fight every day. Because Satan is not resting. He's trying to check you all the time. And so every day, all the time, we have to struggle individually. But never forget, we also struggle collectively. And we have to pray for one another and care about the struggles that everybody goes through. Amen?
Amen.